Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for a squat and deadlift day, but a quick reminder for those of you who watch these videos, please remember to click like down below, be greatly appreciated. Alright, very happy that today I was able to get back into a low bar position. It's requiring a little bit for me to get the setup kind of where I wanted, where I can get the bar down on my rear delts. But I got into that position and I went up. This felt really, really, really easy. 415 felt like definitely a warm up. So I jumped straight to 505, and honestly, it felt really light on my back. Felt really light walking it out, coming down, coming back up. It actually didn't feel like a max. However, it's a little higher than I would like. So, and it wasn't a strength issue. It's a timing issue. It's a hip position issue. So now that I'm able to get into this position, I've got to get my stance right. I think it's really the case of getting my toe position correct, pushing my hips back and getting that external rotation, because I feel like that would miss depth. It would depend on the federation. There are feds who would pass that. I personally wouldn't pass it. And again, it wasn't heavy. Like, I felt like I could have made another weight jump. So I need to sort that out, and we will sort that out. But first I had to get to the situation to where I could handle it up top, meaning everything in a good position. And I'm finally there again. The shoulder mobility is allowing for it. Again, it's not easy, but I can get into the position. Now I've got to focus on getting depth, and then we'll start adding weight. But there's no point in going up on weight until I can start sinking those below parallel. Went ahead and just did a 585 for the training max on the deadlift today, because 605 a few days ago felt really heavier than I would like for a training max. So we went ahead and went with 585 today, and that felt fine. Still felt real heavy. Still felt pretty close to a max, but overall happy with it. So for supplemental work, in order to continue to build the quads and adductors, I'm using my belt squat, but I'm going with a really narrow stance. So this is really replicating what we would do with a high bar or an Olympic squat. Again, to the best of my ability using this machine. I may still need to remove that bar in the middle for those handles, because it really gets in the way. It does get in the way if I want to not hold on to it, which is something I need to do to get that lengthened position at the bottom to get the most quad development. But overall, happy with how it felt. Really happy with how those felt today. They were definitely challenging. Again, felt a good pump in my quads and a good burn in my quads. And so we'll keep the quads coming along just to make sure that they don't become a limit on the squat. But now that I'm able to get into that low par position, I don't really feel my quads to the same degree on the squat. They don't feel like they're as much of a limiting factor as when I go with more of a high bar type squat with a narrower stance. So not as worried. But we still need to continue to get the quads bigger. They need to be bigger because they will always be a primary mover on the squat. But since I do all this other posterior chain work, I'm not as worried about my one supplemental quad lift here, working those things as much, but they're still being worked. Keep in mind, this is still a glute and adductor exercise. And it absolutely hypertrophies them. If we go off the data we have on even just high bar squats, the glutes and the adductors grow from those more than the quads do. That's the only study we've ever had that looked at it, that the ratios, that's what it determined. So I decided again just to superset those with my glute ham raises. And really, the glute ham raise and the reverse hyper are my deadlift builders. Again, people can argue about that all they want. They can talk about, well, this muscle or that muscle is used to move the weight on a deadlift. They're not. Hey, the muscles that move the weight on a deadlift, glutes, hamstrings, and to a lesser extent quads. And it's not that quads don't play an enormous role. It's like when you say that, people say, well, yeah, they're never a limiting factor. Well, they're not, but they still matter. Bigger quads will still build your deadlift up. They will still improve your deadlift. They're just not as proportionately as important. Okay, and we need to always understand that distinction. But this here will help my deadlift, right? This will improve the deadlift. But for me, all that posterior chain work has always been king. And it's not to say I can't use other movements. I've seen my deadlift get good when I'm focusing on good mornings, glute bridges, all that stuff. But these are the exercises that are easy to recover from. And I don't even know if that's even true. Honestly, glute ham raises really destroy me. If I'm not really careful, my hamstrings will cramp up on me, and I can't even walk later in the day from these. If I'm not careful with what I do after the fact, and sometimes I'm not. I'm not careful enough. Simply sitting too long at my desk later in the day will cause that issue. So I always have to be aware of it. But these are my builders, and then after that, obviously the anything that works my quads, anything that works my back. So my rows on my upper body days are part of it. Right, they're definitely part of it. But what are the primary movers? Glutes and hamstrings first. Okay. The low back is a stabilizer. Is it important for power transfer? You bet. Are the lats and traps important for power transfer and maintaining an ideal bar path? Yes, absolutely. They don't move the weight. So I like to use these movements to build the primary movers. Okay, again here, a little less hamstring here, but it's still glutes and erectors. Glutes and erectors. And this, at least the erectors are used in a way that's similar to the deadlift. So again, I'm a big fan of these. So what I'm doing on these right now, I'm cutting the sets down from 5 down to 3 sets, but I'm trying to increase reps. So I'm actually doing, as of today, I'm doing more reps than I do with 5 sets previously. Instead of my 5 by 10 to 12, I managed to get at least 20 reps on all 3 sets using that same weight, that same 250 pounds, which I've been basing off of a squat max, right? Approximately 50% of squat max. So I may need to increase that over time, or I could just keep increasing reps. But again, this is a big movement for me. Again, it helps with the recovery, and this exercise is one of the reasons you guys will see me hit a max squat and a max deadlift, or at least training maxes twice a week on each one, and feel fine doing it. This helps offset some of that axial loading. Again, the restorative effect of the traction it places on the back. But notice everything that I'm doing at this point in the day is kind of traction based, right? Glute ham raises are. Now, a lot of people argue the belt squat is not, but at least there's no axial loading, there's no compression. But everything else then puts traction on the spine and pulls on it, right? That's helpful here. But I have to be happy about the way the squats are going now. I'm not happy about getting the depth right, but that's easier to fix. That's way easier to fix in the bar position and the shoulder issues. So we're in a good place. I feel like now that I can low bar squat, that everything's going to come up real quick. I've just got to focus now on depth, opening my hips up and being able to sit back. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.